So with all these microphones, I feel like the president or something. We're gonna build a wall! Because that seems like a great idea. Anyway, what I've noticed with my previous reviews for Runaways Season 1 and 2 is that I never went too much in detail on each of those seasons because I was trying not to spoil it. And I don't want to spoil this season either, but I do have a lot more that I want to talk about. So we're going to get right into it with the first thing that I loved being that how quickly this season just gets you into the action because of the epic cliffhanger that was left with us at the end of season 2. I do understand though why season 1 started off a bit slow because it was setting up these characters. So I understood why season 1 started off slowly, but season 2 also started off a bit slow, which is why it took me a while to actually like that season. In my personal opinion, it may have been the weakest season of the show, given how great season 3 was, because it just throws you into the shit. This season also went back to 10 episodes like season 1, unlike season 2 did. Season 2 had 13 episodes for some reason, and had a whole bunch of unnecessary side characters and side story arcs or whatever. I don't know. They weren't quite like that for this season. And it's almost as if the writers listened to the fans this time. I'm also pretty sure that this season picks up right after the end of season 2 with that cliffhanger, because when we get into this season, the kids are, like last season, trying to stop Jonah and his plans and all that stuff. And I gotta say, I've always been interested in Jonah, his world, where he comes from, all of that, and this isn't anything new because I've been interested in this character since season 1. This is, I would say, is the one of the very few things in this whole show that has never failed me. I've always been interested in it. Especially with the introduction of Zavin, who in season 2 I never mentioned in my review because she was a really awkward, like, alien person that kept following the kids around, and she didn't seem to have a real reason to be there. But that is completely, I guess, fixed for this season because her arc in this season was great. I really loved it. She went from being a nobody character in season 2 to being one of the most pivotal and investing character arcs in the whole show. While on the topic of characters and character arcs, let's talk about some of the best this season, which I loved. One of them being the will they, won't they sort of relationship with Gert and Chase. They're kind of like the Ross and Rachel of Runaways, but it's done really well, and I never would have thought to be as invested as I was in their relationship. It's not touched on too much. It's sort of like, for this season, it's not as pivotal as it was last season. It's not this big thing, but they do focus on it from time to time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Another character arc that character that I loved for this season was the parents. I never would have thought that I would actually root for the parents in any season of the Runaways. What they did for the parents this season sort of redeems them. Like, I love how when you go back to season 1 and then watch this season, both the parents and the kids have changed dramatically, and it's so good how they have done that over the whole show. So what I would say the best character arc to be would be Nico's. And remember how I said in my season 2 review that we got to see just how powerful she was with her staff? Yeah, well, most of this season is just all that, and her struggling with this overwhelming darkness building within her, which, if you've seen Runaways, has a lot to do with a specific Marvel film that I won't say because I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen the show. But remember how I said in my season 1, fuck me, that's not what you want to happen in a review. Anyway, remember what I said in my season 1 review, being that I like that this show doesn't need to connect to the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, this season, as I said, has a direct connection or link to a specific Marvel film. I love that for this season. It made so much sense. And it gave Nico a lot to do for this season as a character. But with Nico's arc and this twisted darkness building within her comes a new villain called Morgan. Now, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think Morgan was the best villain. I would say that this Morgan villain, what she does for the story and what she is to Nico and how that affects Nico and all that is good. as a villain on her own, she's kind of lacking, but how her presence affects Nico and the rest of the group, I thought was well done. And her as a villain was teased while the kids were trying to defeat Jonah and everything that was going on with him. And they do succeed in defeating Jonah. Slight spoiler there. But as I said, most of the season is about Nico's struggle and this new villain Morgan. And I've noticed that because when they defeat Jonah like at halfway through the season. I've noticed that the previous Runaway seasons has also done that, as well as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where you have like a villain in the first half of the season, and then something else entirely different comes in halfway through, and that becomes the new story. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, it's just something I've noticed. But yeah, Nico's arc over these 3 seasons, I would say, is probably more interesting than what they did with Zavin, and their most investing story and interesting story, more interesting than Jonah, okay? I love Jonah, I love Zavin, I love anything connected to, you know, Jonah and his world, but what they did with Nico was so much better, in my opinion. Way more well written and executed in the show than anything else. But that last episode was a doozy, and I read some article that was rumoring that season 3 of Runaways might be the last season of the entire show, but then again I read a recent article saying that there could be a season 4. I don't know what's happening, but it would make sense that season 3 could be the last season of Runaways, because all the Netflix Marvel shows have been cancelled. Cloak and Dagger, I think, has also been cancelled, maybe because it's just been a shit show and it hasn't gotten the ratings that it's supposed to. I know I was very disappointed with Cloak and Dagger, but if this season is to be the last Runaway season, I would be fine with it, considering how they did the last episode. I love the last episode. It's such a good send-off. But I know that some of you will probably be wondering what my thoughts are on Cloak and Dagger and their appearance in this season. In case you didn't know, I mean, it was pretty well reported that Cloak and Dagger would have a crossover with Runaways this season, and they do. And in the end, they were fine. Full transparency, I was excited to see Cloak and Dagger in Runaways. Not necessarily because I was invested in Cloak and Dagger anymore, but because I was just excited to see them like come together. But regardless of that, if you've seen the show, what did you think about Runaways season 1, 2, and 3? And also, I think the next Marvel MCU review will be Black Widow. So I guess for this Marvel MCU playlist, I'll see you in that video. But before that, I do want to let you guys know that there will be an update video coming up very soon on my channel, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And I guess that's it. I'll see you in the next video.